My name is Patrick, and it was Philadelphia 2018. That's what the timestamp in my head says. The rain is starting again, smearing the streetlights across the windshield of my beat-up Civic. I'm parked across the street from a 3-story brick building. Our building, apartment 3B, the one with the crooked blinds. Her blinds. I haven't been back to this block in 2 years, but my hands knew the turns to get here like they were programmed. They tell you heartbreak is a punch to the gut. They're wrong. It's a quiet emptiness, a cold draft that slips in through a door you swore you'd locked forever. It's sitting in a parking lot at 1 a.m., staring at a window, just hoping the light doesn't turn on. The night we met was just as damp and miserable as this one. I was getting off a double shift at the restaurant, smelling like garlic and fryer oil. All I wanted was a Gatorade and 12 hours of sleep. I pulled into a Wawa on Broad Street, the lights making everything look sick and green. And there she was, Sarah, not glowing under a spotlight, not looking like a movie star. She was just frustrated, kicking the tire of an old Toyota that had clearly given up the ghost next to pump 4. She had this little line between her eyebrows, a concentration frown that I'd come to know better than my own reflection. I'm not a hero. My first thought was, don't make eye contact, Pat. Just get your drink and go. But then she let out this sigh. It wasn't a damsel in distress sigh. It was a sound of pure, unadulterated end of a long day defeat. I knew that sound. I lived that sound. So I walked over. Trouble? Real original? I know. She looked up, and she wasn't immediately charmed. She looked exhausted. You could say that. It's making a noise that sounds expensive. And now it's not making any noise at all. Her voice was a little raspy, tired. I popped the hood, pretending I knew what I was looking at. I'm a restaurant manager. I can tell you if a steak is medium rare by touch, but an engine might as well be alien technology. We just stood there for a minute, two strangers staring at a hunk of metal, the smell of gasoline mixing with the coming rain. Well, I said, finally closing the hood with a loud clang, I can confidently say that it's broken. She laughed. It wasn't a polite chuckle. It was a real startling bark of a laugh that cut right through the shitty night. Thank you, Captain Obvious, she said, a smile finally breaking through the frustration. That was it. That was the spark. Not a lightning bolt, just a single, unexpected flicker in the dark. We ended up talking for an hour while waiting for a tow truck, leaning against my car, just complaining about our jobs. She was a dietitian at a clinic, dealing with people who didn't want to be helped. I was managing servers who definitely didn't want to be managed. It was the most normal, unromantic meeting in history, and it was perfect. Love didn't happen overnight. It snuck up on me. It was in the little things. Our first date was a week later. I texted to ask if her car got fixed, and it turned into a 3-hour conversation that ended with us getting cheesesteaks at 11 p.m. because we were both starving. I remember watching her meticulously pick the onions off her sandwich and line them up on the wax paper. It was weirdly fascinating. I realized I was falling for her on a completely random Thursday. We were at the Acme on Passyunk, arguing about which brand of toilet paper was superior. She was making this passionate, logical case for her brand, using her hands to emphasize her points, just like she did when she talked about macronutrients. I was standing there in the paper goods aisle, surrounded by the smell of laundry detergent, and this wave of, I don't know, calm, just washed over me. I wasn't thinking about work or bills or the leak in my bathroom ceiling. I was just there, with her in this stupid brightly lit aisle, and I felt home. I thought, oh, this is it. I want to argue about toilet paper with this woman for the rest of my life. Her habits became my favorite things about her. The way she'd hum off key when she was cooking, the fact that she had to sleep on the left side of the bed, no exceptions, the little notepad she kept where she'd write down funny things. Our friends said, I started saving them too. I loved her not for some grand poetic reason, but because she was real. She was the 1,000 mundane, beautiful moments that made up my day. She was the text in the middle of a bad shift that said, don't kill anyone. I'm making pasta. She was the warmth on the other side of the bed in the morning. We got apartment 3B 6 months later. It was a huge step. We painted the living room a color called gentle fawn that we both immediately hated but were too stubborn to admit. Our life fell into a rhythm. A good rhythm. I'd get home around midnight, exhausted and cranky. The apartment would be quiet, but the little lamp on the end table would be on, and there'd be a plate of something for me in the microwave with a note stuck to it. Eat this, you're a monster when you're hungry. Love S. I'd eat then crawl into bed, careful not to wake her. But she'd always stir, roll over and throw a leg over mine in her sleep. It was an anchor. It meant I was home. It meant I was safe. We met each other's families. My mom adored her, instantly treating her more like a daughter than my sister. Her dad was tougher, a quiet guy who looked at me like I was a line item on a budget that he wasn't sure he could approve. But Sarah squeezed my hand under the table, a silent, "We've got this." Our inside jokes were a language of their own. Every time we passed a Wawa, one of us would ask, "Still running?" We made plans, big ones, small ones. A trip to the Poconos we kept putting off, getting a dog, which neighborhood we'd buy a house in someday. We weren't just a couple, we were a team, we were building something. I could see it all laid out, our whole future, and it was shaped exactly like her. It was the only future I wanted. The cracks started so slowly I almost didn't notice them. It wasn't one big thing. It was death by 1,000 paper cuts. My hours at the restaurant got longer, the stress heavier. A new owner came in, all about cutting costs, which meant cutting staff, which meant more work for me. I started bringing the restaurant home with me. The anger, the exhaustion. I'd walk in the door and just collapse on the couch, not wanting to talk. And Sarah, her job was getting more demanding too. She was dealing with genuinely sick people, carrying their pain home with her. Our conversations shifted from "How was your day?" to a list of shared grievances. The toilet paper arguments weren't fun anymore. They were just arguments. The first time I felt real fear was after a fight about money. A car repair bill came in that we just couldn't afford. It turned into a nasty circular argument that ended with her saying, "It just feels like we're treading water, Patrick." She didn't yell it. She said it quietly, which was so much worse. That night, for the first time, she didn't roll over and touch me in her sleep. She stayed on her side of the bed, a whole continent away. The silence in the apartment started getting louder than the conversations. The little notes on my dinner stopped being signed, "With love S." Then they just stopped altogether. We were sitting on the same couch, living in the same rooms, but we were miles apart. I'd look at her while she was watching TV, and I'd feel this cold panic rise in my chest. I don't know how to fix this. I felt like I was losing my grip on the only thing that mattered. And I was too damn tired and proud to just say, "I'm scared." The end came on a Sunday. There was no screaming, no thrown plates. It was worse. It was polite. We were cleaning the kitchen, moving around each other in that careful, practiced way you do with a stranger. She was wiping down the counter, her back to me. "I don't think this is working anymore," she said. Her voice was flat, empty. I stopped scrubbing a pan, the water still running. My whole body went cold. I knew she was right. That was the most devastating part. I couldn't even fight for it because I knew the fight had been over for months. We'd just been waiting for someone to call it. "I know," I said, and that was it. 2 words. The death sentence for our entire world. The next week was a blur of logistics. A cold, cruel process of dividing a life. Who gets the couch we picked out together? Who gets the coffee maker? Every object was a memory, a tiny shard of what we'd built. The last time I saw her, she was standing in the doorway of the empty apartment. She handed me a cardboard box with the last of my things, a few books, a framed photo of us at a Phillies game, the stupid mug I loved. Her eyes were red, but she wasn't crying. She just looked resigned. "Take care of yourself, Pat," she said. I wanted to say something. Anything. I wanted to tell her I was sorry, that I loved her, that I didn't know how to exist in a world that didn't have her all in it. But all that came out was, "You too, Sarah." Then she closed the door. The click of the deadbolt locking was the loudest sound I've ever heard. Now I'm here, in this car, staring at that window. The rain is really coming down. My chest has felt heavy for 2 years. It's not a sharp pain anymore. It's a dull, constant ache. A phantom limb. I'll be in the grocery store and see her brand of toilet paper and have to leave my cart in the aisle and just walk out. A song will come on the radio in the kitchen at work, and I'll have to go into the walk-in freezer for a minute just to breathe. Men aren't supposed to talk about this part, the shame of it, the feeling that you failed, that you weren't enough to make it work. It's easier to get angry, to blame them, but I can't. Because it wasn't just her, it was us. We just eroded.